All right, I wanted to go through these definitions real quick so you could see them. I'll go through this quick dome. You enable this guy. And just look at the first part, which basically there's a slider here that has 219 and it's going into a domain that only has one setting. So it's giving me 2 points, right? So it gives a domain between 1 and 219, 0 and 219, and if I put more steps in it, it just gives me more points, but I only need 2 points because I'm going to create a line between these two. And so it gives me these two. I take them into the negative value, and then I construct a point, and then I move that point the same range up, right? So I get these 2 points right there. And so if I take this geometry and push it into there, I'm just getting 2 points with basically a 45-degree angle-ish. And then with the dispatch, I take 1 point and the other point, and I draw a line between them, right? So we get that line. Same thing happens up here with a little bit of division. So this one has, if I start turning this guy, if I turn these construct points on, right, it's just smaller and it's going in the positive direction instead of the negative, right? Because I did a negative on this one, so this one's going to the right instead of to the left. And then the move, right, puts it up in the air, and then the dispatch does the same thing, and this draws a line. So I've got this line and that line between those guys. And then I merge those two, right? And I join the curves. So that gives me that. So let me go ahead and just preview kind of all of this off. All right, so that gives me this joined curve. And then this joined curve gets reoriented, and it gets reoriented to a circle on the bottom. So I have a circle here, and it's been divided by a series of points. And so this reorient takes the first point, which is this list item. So it looks and it gets this first point, so that's the first point of the division, and it puts that as the target. And as the source, right, I'm taking the point here from list A, so it's just the point right here, and I'm taking that as the source, and the curve is the geometry. And what that does is it takes this point, moves that geometry to the new oriented point. So if I go to preview, right, it moves it over there. So let's just go ahead and get rid of this stuff. All right. All right. So once we get this guy, all that happens with that is we array it. So we're arraying it using the count and just using 0, 0. So this is all centered on 0, 0. So you get that, and then you just loft it, right? So preview the loft, and you get a loft, and then you can go sort of fiddle around with these guys. Bigger, smaller, right? Counts, more counts, but pretty straightforward. So let me take that guy off. And then let's take a look at this one. So you can see that this one's exactly the same, right? All of this, and all of this is exactly the same, right? So if I preview all of this on, right, you get that. And then if I preview and turn, whoops, I need to enable that guy, right? And then if I enable this, right, got that same sort of thing happening there, right? And then this is also the same. So we enable this, right? And I'm going to have to enable all of this over here. All right, so basically you're getting a pretty similar thing here. Let me go ahead and, right, so we're getting a similar. The difference is that I go in and cull the pattern, and let me get rid of all of this now. right? And this needs to be on. So basically I call the pattern, and I should mention also that the count down here is set to 34, so the 34 is for the ones the center, right? And then it gets divided in half, and the count for the second polar array is half of that, so you're not getting quite as many. And then the cull pattern is those guys. It takes out every other one. And then we use a weave. And what that weave does is it takes these guys and these guys, which are individual lists, and goes 1 2 1 2 1 2. So each one of those curves, if I do a list item, right, and I do a weave list, and let's just do, right. So if you see, what happens is if I pick that, that's the first one, and then if I come in, the second one goes to there, and then the third one. So it just weaves them right in that list, so every other one. And then what I can do is I can loft those. Right, and that gives me this guy, right? Because it starts lofting one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. And you can go in and start to play around with sort of overall size, right, of the thing. You can come in and play with this division. We'll make it bigger or smaller, right? You can come in and play with the size of the circle, the divisions of the circle, right? So however you want to deal with how that works. All right, so that's that guy. And then the final one I'll post as a separate video.